The president's biggest campaign donor, who was so close that Trump invited him to sleep at the White House, is now calling for him to be impeached and replaced by Vice President J.D. Vance. The man who was handed nearly unfettered access to the federal government is openly musing about forming his own political party.
Trump is absolutely refusing to back down right now, even as impeachment demands are exploding from Democrats and activist groups over basically everything he's done since coming back to office. And I'm not talking about one or two progressive members making noise. I'm talking about multiple members of Congress calling Trump's actions impeachable offenses. Activist coalitions launching massive impeach Trump campaigns that have gathered over 1 million petition signatures. And Trump himself openly telling Republicans at private retreats that if they lose the House in November, he will get impeached. Not might get impeached, will get impeached. Trump is stating it as fact, as inevitable. And instead of trying to avoid giving Democrats ammunition, instead of moderating his behavior or backing off controversial policies, Trump is doubling down on everything. Continuing the Venezuela operation, continuing aggressive ICE enforcement, continuing to stonewall on Epstein files, leaning into every controversy and daring Democrats to impeach him. But that's not even worst part. Trump is turning the impeachment threat into his central campaign message for 2026 midterms, telling Republican voters that they have to protect him by keeping Republicans in control of Congress, making the entire election about whether voters want to enable Democrats to go after him. This isn't about Trump's policies or achievements. This is about Trump making himself the victim, making accountability look like persecution, and using impeachment threats to rally his base while simultaneously giving Democrats more reasons to actually impeach him. But real quick, before we get into this, let's be honest, you can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built John Brown Show to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, please subscribe because you might think you are but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. All right, let's get into what's actually happening. There's rising pressure inside Democratic base and progressive movement to impeach Trump over multiple things. The Venezuela military operation, DOJ weaponization, ICE abuses including shootings, Epstein files stonewalling, broader pattern of executive overreach. And this isn't just random activists on Twitter. You've got sitting members of Congress publicly calling Venezuela operation an impeachable offense, representatives saying Trump launched military action without congressional authorization, violated war powers resolution, used American military force to overthrow foreign government. That's exactly the abuse of presidential power that impeachment was designed to address. And there's coordinated coalition of activist organizations launching Impeach Trump Again campaigns, groups working together to build public pressure. According to reports, this coalition has gathered over 1 million signatures on petitions calling for impeachment. And they're pushing multiple resolutions targeting not just Trump, but also Defense Secretary over Venezuela and Attorney General Bondi over Epstein stonewalling. This is comprehensive campaign arguing Trump and top officials committed impeachable offenses across multiple areas. That only appropriate response is impeachment and removal. Think about what that means. These groups specifically framing this as impeach Trump again, playing on fact Trump already impeached twice before, suggesting he's serial abuser of power who keeps committing impeachable offenses and needs to finally be removed. And they're organizing around this, building infrastructure, mobilizing activists, creating pressure on Democratic leadership to actually pursue impeachment if they win House. Now let me walk you through what specific grounds Democrats are citing for impeachment because substance matters. On Venezuela, argument is straightforward. Trump launched military operation resulting in capture and removal of foreign head of state without congressional authorization. Democrats argue this violates war powers resolution and Constitution's allocation of war powers to Congress. Trump doesn't have authority to unilaterally invade another country and overthrow government. That requires congressional approval. Doing it anyway is abuse of presidential power rising to high crimes and misdemeanors. On ICE issue, impeachment argument focuses on civil rights violations, aggressive tactics resulting in deaths of innocent people. Trump's rhetoric encouraging agents to be tough, creating climate where abuse is inevitable. Democrats arguing mass deportation agenda being carried out in ways violating constitutional protections. On Epstein files, argument is obstruction and cover-up. Bondi and Trump defying transparency law passed by Congress. Protecting powerful people connected to Epstein. Stonewalling itself is impeachable abuse. But here's where it gets politically complicated. Democratic leadership reportedly not fully on board with making impeachment centerpiece of 2026 strategy. Party leaders urging candidates to focus on cost of living, kitchen table economics, things swing voters actually care about rather than impeachment, which could look like Democrats more interested in going after Trump than solving real problems. Tension within party between progressive base that wants impeachment as moral imperative versus pragmatic wing worrying it could backfire politically. And this tension playing out in real time heading toward midterms. Progressive candidates saying we need promising voters, we'll impeach Trump if we win House. While consultants warning over-focusing on impeachment could cost winnable seats in swing districts. Voters might agree Trump is bad, but think Democrats should work on inflation and healthcare rather than trying to remove him. Share this video with everyone you know because polling suggests strategists might have point. While Democratic voters overwhelmingly support impeachment, independent voters much more mixed. Might view it as partisan overreach rather than legitimate accountability. Challenge for Democrats is base demands impeachment. Activists organizing around it. But swing voters they need to actually win House might be turned off by what looks like relitigating past rather than offering positive vision. Think about what that means. Democratic leadership trying to thread needle. Acknowledge impeachment demands from base. Don't shut down conversation entirely, but keep main focus of midterm messaging on economic issues and unpopular policies rather than procedural question of removing Trump. That's delicate balance. Give base what it wants without scaring off voters who decide close elections. Now let's talk about how Trump is responding because his reaction reveals everything about his strategy. Trump's answer to impeachment pressure is pure defiance. Not backing down, not moderating behavior, not trying to avoid giving Democrats ammunition. Instead, doubling down on exact policies driving impeachment calls and turning impeachment threat into weapon to rally Republicans and motivate base. At House GOP retreat, Trump told Republican lawmakers flat out, "You have to win midterms because if we don't, they'll discover a reason to impeach me. I'll be impeached." Notice the language. They'll discover a reason, not they'll impeach for legitimate reasons, not they'll hold accountable for actual abuses. They'll discover a reason, implying Democrats just looking for any excuse. That impeachment would be illegitimate political persecution rather than constitutional accountability. This framing crucial for understanding Trump's strategy. He's not defending Venezuela operation or ICE tactics or Epstein stonewalling on merits. He's preemptively framing any future impeachment as partisan witch hunt regardless of actual grounds, and framing effective with base because they already believe Democrats out to get Trump unfairly, already view previous impeachments as hoaxes. So when Trump says Democrats will find reason to impeach if they get power, confirms existing worldview, this all about Democrats hating Trump rather than Trump's conduct. Trump essentially inoculating himself against impeachment by getting ahead of it, defining it as illegitimate before it happens. And strategy probably works to motivate Republican turnout. If you're a Trump supporter believing Democrats will impeach no matter what because partisan hacks, pretty motivated to vote in midterms to prevent Democrats getting that power. But Trump isn't just warning about impeachment, actively giving Democrats more reasons to pursue it by continuing and escalating exact behaviors driving calls. Look at what he's done since talks heated up. Continued defending Venezuela, continued aggressive ICE enforcement despite shootings, continued stonewalling Epstein files, continued everything, not moderating, not avoiding controversy, leaning into it, daring Democrats to impeach him. Make sure you're subscribed to John Brown Show because this makes sense from Trump's perspective. He's concluded base rewards fighting rather than compromising. Showing weakness by backing down would damage him more politically than giving Democrats impeachment ammunition. Trump's whole brand is fighter who doesn't apologize, doesn't change course based on criticism. So even when creates legal and political problems, feels he has to maintain brand or risk losing support keeping him in power. And here's where Trump's calculation gets interesting. He genuinely seems to believe he won't be removed even if impeached. So threat doesn't constrain behavior that much. He was impeached twice before. Wasn't removed either time because need 2/3 of Senate to convict. Basically no realistic scenario where 67 senators vote to remove Trump given partisan politics. Trump knows even if Democrats win House and impeach, he's almost certainly staying in office as long as Republicans have 34 or more senators refusing to convict. Think about what that means. Impeachment becomes more political nuisance than actual threat to power. Bad headlines, embarrassing, creates chaos and distraction, but doesn't actually remove him unless something dramatic causes Republican senators turning on him. So Trump can absorb political cost of being impeached again because confident won't result in removal. In meantime, gets to use threat to rally base and paint Democrats as obsessed with attacking rather than governing. Trump's private warnings to Republicans also reveal understanding that political survival entirely dependent on Republicans holding House. As long as Republicans control House, Democrats can't impeach no matter how much base demands. Because impeachment starts in House and Republicans won't impeach own president. But if Democrats flip House in November, suddenly Trump loses protection. Faces almost certain impeachment over Venezuela or combination of alleged abuses. Trump knows this. Why he's making midterms about protecting him rather than Republican policies or achievements. Message to Republican voters is, vote for us or Democrats will impeach your president. Pretty powerful motivator if you like Trump and view impeachment threats as unfair partisan attacks. Trump turning own potential impeachment into central issue from Republican perspective, making it all about whether voters want enabling Democrats to go after Trump or protecting him by keeping Republicans in power. Share this with everyone because now let's talk political calculus around impeachment and what means for 2026. For Democrats, impeachment question is fundamental tension between what base demands and what might help win elections. Progressive base absolutely wants impeachment, views Trump's actions as clear abuses demanding accountability, thinks Democrats have moral obligation to use every tool to check authoritarianism, will be furious if Democrats win House, then don't impeach. But strategists worried if party makes impeachment central message, if candidates promising to impeach as #1 priority, swing voters might think Democrats more interested in political revenge than actually governing and solving problems. Those swing voters decide close elections in purple districts Democrats need to flip to win House. Polling shows this split. Democratic voters overwhelmingly support impeachment, 80+% favorability among Democrats, but independent voters much more mixed. Some support, some oppose, some don't care because focused on economic issues. Problem for Democrats is need winning over significant chunk of independents to flip enough House seats for majority. If impeachment becomes defining issue and turns off independents thinking Democrats should focus on lowering costs or improving healthcare, might hurt themselves politically despite base loving it. That's strategic dilemma. Do what base demands, risk losing swing voters, or moderate message appeal to swing voters, risk depressing base turnout. Trump's strategy of turning impeachment into rallying cry really smart politically, even though deeply cynical. By warning Republicans he'll be impeached if they lose House, making midterms referendum on protecting him rather than referendum on job performance. Normally, midterm elections bad for president's party. Voters use them to express dissatisfaction with whoever's in power. Trump's low approval suggests patterns should hold, but if Trump can reframe election as about whether voters want enabling Democrats to impeach, if can make Republican voters feel voting to protect Trump from illegitimate persecution rather than evaluating actual performance, maybe motivate enough turnout to overcome normal dynamics. Classic Trump misdirection. Don't let election be about whether voters approve what I'm doing. Make it about whether want to stop Democrats from going after me. For Trump's base, framing really effective because already believe Democrats engaged in partisan witch hunt. But risk to strategy too, requires keeping base absolutely fired up while not driving more opposition turnout from people horrified by conduct. Problem Trump has is every new controversy creates more energy on left, potentially moves swing voters away from Republicans. Trump playing dangerous game trying to use impeachment threats to motivate base, while simultaneously giving Democrats more ammunition to argue impeachment justified and necessary. Not clear balancing act can work given how unpopular a lot of Trump's specific actions are with broader public. Venezuela operation polls terribly. Greenland has single-digit support. Epstein stonewalling looks like cover-up. These aren't popular policies Trump can run on. Has to make election about something else like protecting from impeachment. But only works if voters more motivated by protecting Trump than punishing him for unpopular and potentially illegal actions. Other dynamic making this fascinating is Democrats and Republicans in mutual hostage situation where each side needs other to overplay hand. Democrats need Trump keep doing outrageous stuff, justifying impeachment and energizing voters. Republicans need Democrats focus so much on impeachment they come across as obsessed rather than focused on real problems. Both sides trying threading needle. Give base what wants without scaring swing voters. Democrats want signaling to progressives they'll pursue accountability without making only thing they talk about. Republicans want using impeachment threats to motivate base without looking like defending genuinely indefensible conduct. Midterms become test of which party threaded needle better, which message resonates more with voters deciding close races. Specific impeachment grounds also matter a lot for how plays politically. If Democrats impeach over Venezuela and core argument is violated war powers resolution and launched illegal military operation, pretty strong substantive case might resonate with voters uncomfortable with presidential overreach. But if try impeaching over whole laundry list, Venezuela and ICE and Epstein and everything else could come across as throwing everything at wall hoping something sticks rather than focused case about specific high crimes. Trump will absolutely characterize any impeachment as Democrats looking for excuses to overturn 2024 election because can't accept he won. Democrats have to be careful how they frame if go forward. Making sure about specific serious abuses voters can understand and agree are impeachable rather than general sense. Democrats don't like Trump and want him gone. And here's ultimate question. 2026 will answer. Do American voters still believe in accountability through democratic processes like impeachment and congressional oversight? Or reached point where impeachment so poisoned by partisanship, it's become useless as tool for checking presidential power? Trump already impeached twice, wasn't removed either time. Base views those as hoaxes and witch hunts rather than legitimate exercises of authority. If Democrats impeach third time, does that reinforce idea Trump above accountability and impeachment just political theater? Or does it actually create pressure and serve as meaningful check on behavior? Answer probably depends on whether Democrats can make clear, compelling case conduct truly warrants removal, whether can get any Republicans supporting which would give bipartisan credibility, whether evidence presented in hearings changes public opinion in ways making even supporters uncomfortable. If impeachment becomes another partisan fight where Democrats vote to impeach and Republicans acquit and nothing changes, hard to argue accountability mechanism still functioning, but if hearings actually expose conduct that shocks people and shifts opinion, maybe still serves purpose even without removal. Midterms themselves become proxy battle over impeachment, where voters decide whether think Trump should be held accountable through congressional oversight or whether Democrats should back off and let Trump govern. Trump himself framed exactly that way, told Republicans losing House means he gets impeached. So vote for Republicans is vote to protect Trump. Vote for Democrats is vote to enable impeachment. That's choice Trump presenting. Probably most honest framing of stakes in 2026. Not who has better policies, but literally whether voters want giving Democrats power to impeach or keeping Republicans in control to prevent that. We're going to find out in November which message more powerful, message that Trump dangerous and needs checked, or message Democrats obsessed with going after Trump and can't be trusted with power. Either way, impeachment has become defining issue whether Democratic leadership wanted it or not. Trump's fate and party's fate both riding on how voters answer fundamental question about accountability versus protection. Bottom line is this: Trump absolutely refusing to back down even as impeachment demands exploding from Democrats and activist groups over Venezuela, ICE abuses, Epstein stonewalling, with multiple members of Congress calling actions impeachable offenses and activist coalitions gathering over million petition signatures, and Trump himself telling Republicans at private retreats that if they lose House in November, he will get impeached. And instead of moderating Trump doubling down on everything and turning impeachment threat into central campaign message-making 2026 about whether voters want protecting him from Democrats. This story continues. Stay tuned.